Well, g'day everyone. This is kind of funny. In fact, I'll just get back and there we go. The bad boy of solar. I'm Glenn Morris from the Smart Energy Lab, and this is the second time I've done this intro in the last 5 minutes. Apologies for anyone who's been waiting for 5 minutes for the stream to start. I was rabbiting away and I forgot to press the start button. These things happen when you do lives. So anyway, here we are. Welcome everyone. It's great to have you, and I can see already people dropping in on the Facebook and YouTube, so that's fantastic. So today I'm going to talk a bit about the Tower of Power. I'm super excited by the Tower of Power, which is a new battery system here that runs my microgrid at the Smart Energy Lab. And I'm just going to take you on a bit of a walking tour through that. And after that, we're going to talk a bit about software design with a friend of mine. So I'll introduce him in a moment. But first up, I just want to show you a little bit of the history behind the systems here at the Smart Energy Lab. We've been running for the last, I think, 4 years off an Occult system, and the Occult Ultraflex was running, here it is here, being disassembled by Anne. She's the electrician here at the lab, and she's taking away some of the old battery modules for recycling. So it's done over 10,000 cycles. It's an enormous amount of work. And this is the new Tower of Power being installed, a 20 module rack, and that's Jerry from the Greenhouse Effect, just plugging in all the battery modules. So this unit is now the backbone of the microgrid here at the Smart Energy Lab. I got so excited this morning, I just had to run out there and do a little video as well. So this is me just getting up close to all those lights. I had to put my bling on because, you know, all those lights, that kind of looks pretty cool. In fact, they look great at nighttime. So this unit here is 80 kilowatt hours of storage, and it's connected to a 30 kilowatt three-phase Selectronic SP Pro power chain system. And so these modules here, each of them is 4 kilowatt hours of usable energy, or depending on the maximum depth of discharge. That's the PowerLink device, which is optional, which uploads data to the cloud. And this is the intermodule communication for earth fault alarms and status of all the cells. It'll work without the comms, but you've got the option to have that monitoring. But just by linking the batteries, you also have an earth fault alarm function, so it's pretty good. I really like the connectors on these batteries. These are Amphenol connectors, so they click on, they can't be accidentally pulled off. You've got to press a little button on the side to release them. They're weatherproof, so though these batteries are IP21. The blue light is just basically saying the output stage is active. It's got a semiconductor control, and then there's an overcurrent protection device, the 63 amp circuit breaker. The Ecos, this is the new Smart BMS Ecos, and so we're just doing some field testing here of them at the lab. I believe they're being released pretty imminently. And this is a bit of a pan of the system here, the 30 kilowatt SP Pro with a SP Link. So this is me just looking at the SP Link first thing this morning. So it's only putting in about 2.5 kilowatts of power at this point. I'd just like to remind everyone that you're welcome to react and ask questions in the comments field. It's just great to know that people are out there even. So feel free to say hi. If you've got a question, it's probably worth just doing a bit of a spell check before you bring it on screen. And just to confirm that what you're writing is clear. And I can bring it on screen and your little icon will appear from whatever social you're joining from. And you'll be able to get a direct response from me or from my guest to your question. So please encourage you to ask some questions in the comments field, or just throw up some reactions to let me know if you're enjoying today's live. So once again, I've just done this whole spiel before, so I'm just reiterating. It feels kind of funny because I forgot to press the go live button. But anyway, we're live now. So I'm in Melbourne. We're still in metropolitan Melbourne out here in the Yarra Valley. So we're in stage 4 lockdown, which means I spend a lot of time in front of the camera here and a lot of time providing training courses and also live free events like this. I've been running a half day times 5 5 days in a row course. So it's 5 days long, but only half a day each day in solar and battery design. Been doing that for the last few weeks. Every other week, we've been running the course here. It's a virtual course via Zoom. It's a virtual classroom with about 15 to 20 students, and it's interactive, so everyone can ask questions and exchange ideas and stuff. The idea is to go through the process of designing a solar and battery storage system. Now, I've got kind of a bit of a treat today because we do this course showing you how to do it on first principles, but ultimately many people choose to use software. So that's kind of a segue to my guest today. So my guest today on Toolbox Tech Talk is an old friend, and he's also my business partner. I've got to be honest about this. We share a business together, and we started it over some 7 or 8 years ago. He's a bit of a dab hand on the guitar as well as the computer. So it's my pleasure to bring in from the green room, Laurie Kane. Laurie.
Hey, Glenn. How's it going?
Very good, thanks.
Perhaps had my guitar on hand for a bit of a solar coaster song. Solar coaster.
Oh, cool. Yes, it's definitely a bit of a solar coaster industry with COVID, isn't it?
Yep. Hey, good to see you. And it was pretty exciting to see the Tower of Power go up this week. The eCooled wall of, what would you call it? Wall of slow power. It was definitely time for that to move on. So it's pretty impressive, the Power Plus. So that's it's 60 kilowatt, is it?
80 kilowatt hours. Yep.
80.
Nice. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, very nice. So just in terms of raw numbers, by the way, the Ultraflex over 4 years ago, before the lab really grew, was doing its job very nicely. It's got 16 kilowatt hours of usable energy, but we cycled the hell out of that battery because our demand grew a lot. So the lab uses 30 to 50 kilowatt hours a day, and that meant that battery was cycling 2 or 3 times a day. And as it got older and started to lose a bit of capacity, that went up and up. So I think I did a quick count of cycles. It was around 10,000 cycles over that period, which when you think about lead acid, that is incredible.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of tech hanging off that microgrid. There's a lot of gear humming 24/7. So it is a pretty impressive innings by the eCool.
Yeah, we have indeed got a lot of tech.
Yeah, so and I see you've got a change to the electronic setup recently as well. So you've gone from 3 to 6.
Yes.
Was there any other equipment required for that?
Basically, the PowerLink system requires a bit of rewiring in terms of there's an external contactor that's required. So instead of using the internal bypass contactor in this electronic inverter, you've got an external one that synchronizes with an external source like a generator. So that's the main difference in terms of the physical setup. The comms is very simple. Really, it's just doing the interconnections for synchronization of the phases, and then there's some software set up in SP-Link just to identify all the 6 inverters and which phases they're on. But apart from that, it was really straightforward. We're actually a beta test site, or probably for Celltronics. So they often roll out some of their development firmware here in the lab, and generally it's extremely stable, but they come and tweak it quite a bit. So we get to have a sneak peek of the new stuff before it goes to market.
It'll be nice to hear a bit less generated down there, and definitely when you've got the single axis tracking system set up, that'll be a very nice system going on.
Yeah, Laurie, I'm so excited by that too. That's the 70 kilowatt ground mount.
Yeah, we've definitely got to get some electric cars to soak up some of that energy, and I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah. Just to round out the description of everything here. So the lab has currently about 20 systems connected to it, and they're all systems that are for test and training, and a mixture and a constant changing mixture of PV. There's also about 6 or 7 homes currently. We'll soon have about 8 homes connected to the microgrid, because we're an off-grid community here at Mount Tillybuong, and hopefully we can get that wire up to your place, Laurie, and you can join the Wombat Hollow microgrid.
Let it be a dream.
Anyway, so just how are you going at the moment? With COVID and lockdown and everything, are you stuck at home like everyone?
Yeah, I've been having a few months of COVID holiday, putting my feet up. No, it hasn't quite been like that. That'd been very nice. Yeah, there's been a lot of activity going on with a new product release at SolarPlus, and we've been working on this for over a year now, and we're right on the point of release of SolarPlus version 4. And that's been a big rebuild of our map tool and a whole lot of new functionality built into that. So we've been very active. We've been building up our team, and very excited to be releasing that very soon.
Great, yeah. So you've made good use of lockdown, working with our team. Everyone can work remote. It's the nature of software development, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not too different for me working from home base, and our team are scattered, some around the world and around Australia, but it's been a pretty smooth for us in terms of maintaining our work environment and communication. But certainly for a lot of Victorian installers, it's a different story. They're having to deal with a big change to their work environment and the way they do quotes, get sales, and hopefully soon do more installs.
Right. Yep, indeed. So it's a variable market at the moment, depending on where you are in Australia and what your access is to work. So you've mentioned V4. Not everyone knows about SolarPlus who's turning up at this live. So maybe we'll start at the beginning. A little bit of backstory to SolarPlus, Laurie.
Yeah. So it's a little ironic that it's so busy right now, because my motivation for getting this going, as you know, is laziness. I really didn't like creating those system manuals when I worked in your business many years ago, and so that was a big part of the motivation for me in getting a software product together that would relieve that workload, and particularly the compliance workload. But we right there at the beginning partnered with the Smart Energy Council, or Australian Solar Council as it was at the time, to develop a best practice design system, and over 8, maybe 9 years, we've gone from quite a simple design system that was really about just helping installers do that compliant design and hand over documentation, into a full CRM workflow package to enable solar installers and sales companies to really run their business through it. So it's a very broad end-to-end workflow solution for many of our users. Along the way, we've made some big changes. So version 3 came out 3 years ago, Glenn, and that was a dramatic improvement to the modeling side of things.
Yes, yes. It really was a big jump from V2 to V3, but I got a feeling we're going for another big jump this time.
Yeah, that's right. So version 4 is a big leap forward in terms of the design mapping and array designer, the system design combined into a single interface. And there's a lot of changes throughout the platform. So there's a new look to it. There's a sales pipeline CRM dashboard to help people just keep track of sales day to day, keep an eye on conversions and those quotes that need to be followed up. There's quite a lot of features that are helpful for people who do have to do more remote site assessment, and so that's something that in our COVID environment, there's so much more that has to be done remotely, and we've been building out features to enable a full site survey to be done off-site.
So hang on, can I interrupt you at that point? So you're going to give a little demo for us, aren't you?
I will just run through a few features. Yeah, that's right.
Great. So I got a sort of really basic question. If you were pitching to someone who's not familiar with the feature set, who would you say SolarPlus is for?
So it's an interesting question, because there are a lot of people using SolarPlus who they're building a new business. They might have just got accredited or moved from general electrical work into solar and need something that's going to help them get moving quickly with quoting, system sizing, and compliance. And so for those smaller businesses, it does provide a end-to-end workflow, as I said, through the sales quoting process. And then when sales are approved, through the installation process, through to generation of system documentation and generating the connection diagram along the way. So really relieving a lot of the documentation workload and making those processes much more streamlined and simple to follow.
Okay. Can I just interrupt again? So people are joining at different stages to this live. So I just want to let everyone know. So we're talking to Laurie Kane from SolarPlus. Laurie and I actually are business partners in this software, which is a solar design software package. Also, feel free to ask any questions you like in the comments. So just as we're going along, I can see the comments coming in from Facebook and YouTube. So please just check your spelling before you type them, because I can bring them on screen and we can answer them. So anything at all, but you probably want to focus a bit on what the subject matter is. But I generally end these sessions with a little bit of a random Q&A. So if you've got some burning questions about something to do with solar and battery storage, that's what Toolbox Tech Talk's all about, and the guests kind of focus on a particular subject. So back to you, Laurie. I think it's probably worth giving us a bit of a show and tell, don't you think?
Yeah, sure. I'll just follow up on what I was saying. A lot of new installers or people who are just building their business are using SolarPlus to get on top of compliance, for one thing. Just be able to do system design quickly without having to do all the calculations or work off an old spreadsheet. But we also have a lot of established businesses who are growing their business also, and working with a larger team where they need that consistent workflow and the processes to keep track of sales, to keep track of installs, see how each of their team members is doing, and create some really nice proposals and hand over documentation in the process. So yeah, I will jump into something so we can just have the new features that we've added in V4. And I'm not going to go through the whole I'll just stick to a few features because we don't have a huge amount of time to look at all of the workflow.
Sure.
So on my screen here, we've just stepped into the map designer, and so this is a system design component that's sort of in the middle of the sales workflow. So across the top here, I've got the point where we're creating a new quote, just adding some contact details, and SolarPlus integrates with Solar Quotes as well as the website lead form. So you can have those contacts come directly in, pick it up, and launch into a quote.
Can I just interrupt from time to time with the question there, Laurie? So you mean you could put a form on your website and capture customer data, and that comes into SolarPlus?
Exactly. So as soon as your customers filled out your contact form on your website, the lead comes in, you get a notification, and you can have a quote done very quickly and respond to that customer while they're hot. And not only can you send through their contact details, because we are doing more remote site assessment now, you can capture a lot more information. So you might want to set up a second form to get your customers to fill out more information about their bills, upload a bill, maybe take some photos of locations around the house, take a photo of the switchboard, feed all that information that you need through so that it comes directly into SolarPlus, and you're able to respond with a suitable system design with a lot more knowledge of what to expect on site. And that flows through to the battery side of things as well, particularly for compliance with the standards for battery system, knowing what's there in the on the site and what sort of locations might be appropriate.
Right. So looking at this picture here, I can see a whole bunch of solar panels on the roof. So you can simulate a layout of an actual PV array.
Yeah, so when we've come through to the map page here, we've already captured some energy data, and again, all of that information could have come through from website form, and we can then pull up the map and draw out. I'm just going to switch to full screen mode, so it's a bit of a nicer view.
All right, we've got our first question, Laurie. So this is, I'm just going to bring it on screen while you're clicking there. So this is from Rodney. He says, "I'm a small business, so is this cost effective for me?"
It's definitely got to be cost effective. So any size business can benefit from improving the level of compliance with reducing the documentation, improving the proposal, improve advice that you can give to customers, because a system like SolarPlus, you can do modeling, and through that modeling, understand what is going to happen, especially if you've got load data, or especially if you can get some interval data from the customer. You're able to do a very detailed analysis of what to expect, whether the solar system that you've initially designed on the rooftop or on the premises is sufficient to meet loads, to provide further energy to charge a battery system, what sort of charge-discharge cycles are going to happen with that battery system, and through all of that information, estimate the savings for the system, and you can even go as far as comparing different tariffs. And so that enables you to suggest a better tariff and suggest another way that the customer can improve on their bills and on their energy independence. So
Laurie,
for any size business,
I might have to interrupt you again. There's a little bit of a low res thing happening on your screen. I suspect maybe because the picture-in-picture's using extra bandwidth. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was just kind of breaking up a little bit there and a little bit hard to read. So yeah, I'll let you know if that.
I see that.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits in the modeling, but also in the compliance. The resolution improves a bit as a result. It's kind of gone blurrier, but maybe it'll come good. It's the fun of live presentations, right?
Yes, and
So,
here we are in Australia with some of the worst internet in the world, but we try to make it work. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, for any business, just being able to improve the quality of the proposals that you're putting to customers, generally win more jobs as a result, but also just reduce the time that you have to spend doing things like connection diagrams. So in SolarPlus, the connection diagrams generated automatically, and the user documentation at the end of the job is generated automaticely.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Try a couple of things and see whether we get any, whether it is useful to just run through a little bit of a few features of the V4 platform, or perhaps we might need to just kind of talk it through. But what we've got here on the new map tool is a side-by-side array designer, system designer, and panel layout tool. So right here in the one view, we've got array designer where we can see all of the compliant string configuration options for this combination of inverter and module. And we're able to simply drag and drop arrays onto the map to make for a really nice, simple way to design systems. So you can see here, when I've done that, I've placed 40 panels on this surface. It's 13 kilowatts. On the second surface, I've put 12 panels, 3.9 kilowatts. And with a couple of clicks, I can get that into a nice layout. And there's various ways to play with the panel layout, either by swiping or clicking. So
you can remove panels just by alt clicking or option clicking on a Mac.
That's right.
Actually, that brings me to one of the other questions. People often wonder, is it standalone software, like you need to run a PC or a Mac, or is it web-based?
Yeah, so SolarPlus is web-based, and one of the benefits of doing that is you can switch between different photo imagery options. So here we've got the choice of using Google Maps, Metro Map, Nearmap, which is an integration. So in that case, it's your own Nearmap license, but you're able to integrate with SolarPlus to get that extra imagery. You can also upload imagery. So you might have a nice drone image and you're able to very quickly and easily upload a drone image and scale it to the map underneath. You might also have some plans in a PDF, and you're able to upload that PDF and using the scale in the plans, size it to the map, and do a panel layout right away with those plans.
Cool.
So some nice options there in terms of imagery with an online system, but we're also pulling in weather and solar radiation data from a worldwide service. So SolarPlus does work globally using that solar weather data, and it's very localized. So it's a 10 square kilometer grid across the globe. So you're able to get local weather radiation data, and it's integrating with a bunch of other platforms as well. So as well as Nearmap and MetroMap for the imagery, as I mentioned, there is an integration with Solar Quotes. So it's pulling in those quotes that have come through from Solar Quotes or from your website live. So you are able to respond immediately. When you're generating a quote, sending it off to a customer, it's enabling that customer to sign off online. And so you'll get a confirmation as soon as the customer's signed that quote. But not only that, they're able to pay straight away. So there's a Stripe integration. They can put their credit card details in and make the payment of deposit right away when they receive the quote.
Wow, that's great. Hey, Laurie, the picture's really clear now, so I think you can probably turn your picture-in-picture on. It may not have been a problem at all. Yep, there we are. I can see you up there. How you going up there?
Glenn, feels like Brady Bunch somehow. Not sure where the girls are. Yeah, so just as well as the Stripe integration, we've got an integration with Xero, so it can send that information on the invoices and payments directly through to Xero, and then you go into the management of the installation process. Scheduling can be done with Google Calendar. There's an integration with Google Calendar. Generates a job pack, so you can send that directly off to the installer with one click. As I mentioned, it's generating a connection diagram. Not suitable for every system, so there's some larger systems particularly that aren't so well supported in terms of that connection diagram, but we're developing that constantly and adding more functionality to it.
So, Laurie, what imaging? You mentioned drone imaging. What other imaging services can you use?
Yeah, so Google MetroMap built into SolarPlus. Nearmap's available with your own Nearmap key. Drone imagery certainly, and plans if you're uploading a plan to.
So lots of choices. Yep.
Yeah. We also have integration with Zapier, which is a pretty neat system that allows you to connect almost every CRM, every major CRM that's on the market. So that means that you can keep, even if you use a different platform for marketing perhaps, and some sort of sales tracking pipeline external to SolarPlus, you can keep those quotes synced across between the two platforms with that Zapier connection in the middle. So lots of options to connect up systems, and overall that helps. And SolarPlus then is often the source of truth. So that's where your leads have come in, your proposals are being created, generated, sent off to customers, and you can synchronize all of those other platforms off the side of SolarPlus.
Laurie, I'm just going to pause you for a moment because more people are coming in all the time. So just for those who've just joined us, welcome. I'm chatting with Laurie Kane from SolarPlus about the imminent release of V4. You're welcome to ask questions or make reactions in the comments field. That's great. I can see them come up on screen. And if you want to type your comment, I'll bring it on screen. So just check your spelling before you do that. And you can always watch these after the event and share them with your friends. So, yeah, back to you, Laurie.
Yeah, so let's jump from the map tool. Actually, before we do, I'm just going to switch to. So we've been looking at the array designer really here, where we've got the combination of our system design, string configuration. We can switch to balance of system components and look at the mounting system, add optimizers, isolators, DC cables, and so lots of options in there built in to work through the different aspects of the system balance of system. You can also switch across to the system designer, which then goes through to AC and DC cabling.
Sorry to interrupt you again, Laurie, but we've lost resolution again. I've actually got V4 open on my desktop. I might just bring up this page on a configuration, so we'll see if that's going to be a better one. Hang on, I've got to change displays. Where are we? Yeah, so the quality just fell apart for a minute then. So you'll be able to see this one too if I bring up the secondary display. There we go. Can you see that, Laurie?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So you went to the switched over to the system page. I'll switch over now. System designer, which is where you were talking about. Do you want to talk over the top of me?
Yeah. So they sit side by side. You can switch back and forth between the map view and the system view, but this allows you to dive into more detail. If you are a designer, get into the array cable sizing. You can check out the AC voltage rise calculations, do all of that within this view. Derating values of the system you can look through. You can add in battery components or just tweak the settings. So what SolarPlus allows you to do, it's got an inventory system in the back end, so you're able to pull in all of your products and pricing, and you can have pricing for different suppliers. So there's a full price book there. Then you can put a system design together and you can go through it in a bit of detail and configure your pricing. So you've got your total system price, and then save that as a system package. So that's a pre-built package ready to go when you've got an appropriate site. And the benefit of that is it just speeds up the process of creating quotes. You can have a range of systems there of different sizes and configurations ready to go for different scenarios. And it doesn't prevent you from doing a bespoke system for a particular site when it's a bit unique, but it does allow you to just improve on the time to get that quote out to the customer. And it also means that you've got all of those details taken care of so that the system documentation and the connection diagram are already generated very quickly and easily.
Laurie, I think your connection is stabilized again. Do you want to go back to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've just switched over to, I won't move around too much because the connection might not be so good, but I've just switched across to the reporting area where we're able to dive into a lot of detail of the system performance. So what I've done here is I've pulled up a chart of weekly time range. So I could be just looking at the average day for the year to see what a profile of the system performance for the year or for a particular month. But in this case, I've gone for a week view, and it's a week view, not average, but as you can see from the solar, let me just drop out some of these values so that we can break it down. So in the blue, you can see the consumption profile for this.
Where do you get the consumption profile from?
In this case, it's just been from a typical profile that's built into the system. But if you have interval data, that's certainly preferable, and you can just upload that interval data, whether it's in a vertical format or row to day format, it doesn't matter. You can just upload interval data for any period. So if you've got 3 months of data, it will extrapolate that out to get a typical year for the modeling. If you've got 3 years of data, it will just take the most recent year of data to do the performance analysis on that basis. So if we drop the consumption for a moment, we can see the solar over the 7 days here, and you can see there's a lot of variability, and that's one of the benefits of having the detailed performance analysis across a typical year, which is the way we model things initially, and then we extrapolate that out over the lifetime of the system to get the full savings analysis. So with this variability, it means that we're able to look at how the inverter is going to handle that solar input. We can do all of the deratings for each period as it's modeled, and we can estimate how the inverter is going to handle that input. So if there's peaks, and you've got a slightly oversized system, you might see some clipping in the inverter at the input stage or the main stage, and so that's all part of the modeling that goes on as it's going through that year to do the simulation. So we can see here now in green how the battery charge is performing. In this case, we're looking at the middle of winter, so it is good to take a look at your worst case scenario in winter. Then the light green is the battery discharge later on, and so that's where a lot of the savings are going to come in for a battery system, probably in the peak tariff period.
Right.
We can also see the battery state of charge, and so this is a very valuable tool to tell us whether our battery is cycling well, particularly in the winter months, and this information might tell us that we should increase the solar if we've got some available roof space to do so, and we may make some changes to the energy management settings to improve on the use of that battery energy to maximize savings and improve on the lifetime cycling of the battery. So we can see the battery cycling across its lifetime, and we can see the battery backup hours. So we're getting a sense now of how that battery is going to perform if the grid goes offline. In this case, it's quite a well-sized system, so it's pretty much operating off-grid.
Just to interpret that graph again, can you bring it back up, the battery backup hours? So when a customer says to me, I want battery backup, usually my first two questions are how much and for how long. Sorry, what do you want to back up and for how long? So with this kind of data, we can analyze that?
Yeah, so you can take a look at how a battery will perform, how long it will last if the grid goes down in a certain month and at a certain time. So for a smaller system, you might find that it doesn't quite get through the night if there's a grid outage at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And so that's quite valuable if you can guide a customer on what to expect, manage their expectations in terms of what level of grid independence they've got. And that's a big motivation at the moment. A lot of people are as much concerned about energy independence and what happens when the grid goes down, and particularly if they're in an area where that's a common thing. I think a lot of people just like the idea of being off grid and being able to source and manage and store their own energy.
Yeah, I think COVID's caused a huge boost in solar sales this year. Everyone expected to go down, and I think it's the self-reliance factor. People have been stocking up on food, toilet paper, unfortunately. And why not stock up on energy?
Energy.
That's energy, not toilet paper. That certainly got into people's mindset.
Yeah. And of course, when you've got that level of modeling, you can get right into the savings analysis and get a view of how the monthly or annual bill is going to be affected with solar and storage. So we've got lots of data there that we can draw on to generate a detailed proposal. And
Well, that's the magic return on investment graph that everyone asks, what's the payback?
Yeah.
So can we choose the modeling method, simple versus NPV, etc.?
Yeah, so there's a range of different charts that you can generate and put into a proposal depending on the customer, what they're looking for, and what level of detail you need to give them. So in some cases, you might be dealing with someone who knows a lot about finance and really wants to dive into the detail of their internal rate of return. What's the percentage rate of return over the lifetime of the system? It's the levelized cost of energy. But you may also have someone who wants to look at cash flow. So once you start to get into commercial systems, cash flow becomes an important thing, and we're able to give a complete cash flow analysis over the lifetime of the system, so that those bean counters can get the level of detail that they need to get them across the line.
So just looking at those numbers, Laurie, they all look wonderful. So internal rate of return 19.3%. The cost of electricity, or levelized cost of electricity, 6 cents. I mean, you can see why people are going for solar. The cost of electricity is just so low.
It is, and solar is such an obvious way for businesses, particularly to get savings. And I think there was an immediate slowdown when COVID came in, but I think it's important to keep in mind that since the instant asset write-off has come in, there's a really great business case for a huge number of commercial businesses to get solar on their rooftop or in their premises, and generate savings, reduce the overheads in their business, and as you say, a very attractive rate of energy.
So, Laurie, interrupting you again, we're coming to near the top of the hour, so I just want you to focus in on some of those key points before we wrap for the day. What are your other strong parts about SolarPlus, compelling arguments?
Yeah, one of the great things about SolarPlus is that for a team, you're able to get a great visualization of what's happening for each employee, the stats on the sales pipeline, and when to follow up those leads. It's a great tool for a team to communicate with each other, make sure they've got a common process and streamlining processes for speed, for efficiency, but also, to improve on the rate of conversions of customers. And I think more than that, when you've got good energy modeling, you down the track, you're going to have fewer customers ringing up and saying, what's going on? This isn't what I expect. I expected something different. My battery's not maintaining a state of charge. And so if you're able to do good modeling like you can with SolarPlus, I think it takes away a lot of those risks in customers being disappointed.
Yeah, totally. It is a requirement. I'm the standards guru, so it is a requirement of our PV array standard, our battery standard, our standalone power system standard to have documentation, including a performance estimate. So really, you do need to model to some extent any design, but from a sales perspective, look, it's a lay down misere. You want to be able to provide accurate estimates of production if someone's making the choice based heavily on finance.
Yeah, and each solar business, they need to specialize in what they do best. And so for some, they're specializing in the sales. Some are specializing in sales and install. But we take care of a lot of the compliance and in our product library with all of the latest products and all of their specs. Data sheets are already included there. So we're just kind of taking the weight off in terms of keeping up with the latest products, the latest modeling, and and nice ways to present that information to customers.
So a bit of a Dorothy Dix question here, because I do know the answer. But if you're choosing a module and an inverter, do you have to get all the data and upload it into SolarPlus?
Yeah, it's already there. So you can just select the products that you want to use in your business, put them into your inventory. We've got, as I say, a product library where all the components are listed there. You can just search through, select a bunch of components and drop them into your inventory. With your pricing, you can have different price levels for different suppliers so that you can keep track of what's the best product at a particular moment in time. And and so it's all there and ready to put those components together and make sure you've got a compliant design, and you can immediately see the range of options within your string configuration for those products.
Great.
And the brochures go into the proposal as well. If you're wanting to include them with the proposal, they go into the handover documentation along with the frame engineer certificate. So yeah, there's a lot of data there already ready to go, as well as tariffs. We've got thousands of electricity tariffs already listed.
So Laurie, I've been promoting this as the SolarPlus V4 imminent release. Is that likely to be next year?
Yeah, so for our current users, within the next couple of days, they're going to be
Wow.
have access to SolarPlus V4, and so that's a leap forward for our current customers. It's backwards compatible, which is great. It means they can work with the new tool, and while they're getting used to it, they can still go back to their old way of doing things and maintain the processes they've had in place. And so we're following up over the next month with some further V4 releases. So it's a bit of a stage release so that all those existing customers can get a handle on things. And we've already been releasing a lot of the V4 features over the last few months. So by the end of October, it's released and available to everyone.
Great. So just another Dorothy Dix question. Is there kind of like different versions, SolarPlus Lite and SolarPlus Pro?
There's not. So SolarPlus is a single platform available to everyone. We do have customers who are on different tiers, different plans based on the size of their business. But even on the smallest plan, you've got 5 users in your plan, and so it's designed for teams at every level.
Great. Cool. Well, Laurie, we've come to the top of the hour. So it's been great chatting to you and sharing some of the enthusiasm and the new features of SolarPlus V4.
Thanks, Glenn. Yeah, it is an exciting time, and thanks for the chat. It's been good to run through some of this, and look forward to chatting with you soon.
And I'm going to run out and give my Power of Tower a bit of a hug too. So for those who missed the beginning, there's a big new battery system that arrived here. It's pretty exciting. So anyway,
I think we're going to gather up all of our little portable appliances, just bring them down and see how many we can plug in at once.
Great. All right. Well, I'm just going to wind up the session. So thanks, Laurie.
Thanks, Glenn.
And that was Toolbox Tech Talk for today, Sunday, the whatever it is of October. Next week, 2 p.m, another Toolbox Tech Talk. So I haven't actually got my guests lined up yet for that. So we'll see what turns up next week. So hope to see you back on the channels, 2 p.m. Melbourne time, and on Facebook, YouTube, and even Twitter if you like to watch it through that format. So thanks very much for everyone who came and questions, and thanks very much, Laurie. And we're out.